What's up guys, it's GORAcorpse, and in today's video, basically we're going to be talking about another anime relationship. Why? Because I can't get my own. Okay, so I'm not going to lie, I kind of was triggered because the other day I was just scrolling through Sailor Moon things. Someone was like, you people who don't like Seiya, just get over it. Get over that Mamo ended up with her. I posted it on my Instagram. So we're kind of replying to that. Most of this video won't actually be about Seiya, about Mamo mostly, but I do want to make something clear. I'll just give you a summary of kind of what I wrote. I said, I believe if Seiya and Usagi ended up together, it would defeat the purpose of soulmates. If it made it to where Usagi basically cheats, it would ruin so many people's perspective on true love and would make it seem like cheating is okay, especially for people who grow up as children watching it. So I would like to point out that I did see more Americans shipping Seiya, and I did ask one of my Japanese friends, said that in Japan it's a lot more common to see people ship Mamoru and Usagi. And I said this show is a big part about Mamoru and Usagi's love and soulmates. It's weird to me that people watch a show. I mean, it's mostly about friendship, obviously, but it's also about Mamo and Usagi being soulmates, so it's so weird that people don't like that when it's most of the show. I also put, I believe Seiya was teasing / flirting with Usagi, was there to show that no matter who wanted her, she would never give up on Mamo, which is very inspirational, or else it should be, and you should not cheat. Okay, so that's basically what I said, and I would reply to more comments because, but I can't because I only pretty much got one about this, so, yeah. But I guess I'll reply to my friend's comment, and she is my friend, so we will not be being mean. I mean, even if she wasn't my friend, we wouldn't be mean. I just want to be respectful of people's opinions, and you should be too. So my friend here says she is a Usagi and Mamo shipper. So that's something to think about. She's not being biased in this, and that's good, because I am. But I'll try not to be in some. She said she personally finds the majority of ships and even canon relationships a little problematic in the show, and she also wants to point out it's not too alarming in the manga. In the first point, she says a middle schooler dating a college student. So yeah, that's a good thing to point out. If you don't actually know what the show's about, it would be like, oh my gosh, that's actually a college student and a middle schooler. But if you actually knew what the show is about, they were reincarnated. It is them, but it's not their true selves. So, and if you really want to get technical, they're actually like thousands of years old. But if you know the backstory and everything of Sailor Moon, they're technically more than that, if that makes sense. So, but I do agree that that is a little weird. Oh, and she also points out in the manga they were only 2 years apart. Something I personally find problematic and can be harmful to young girls is how Mamo treated Usagi. He often called her ugly, attacked her intelligence, and so many other rude things before he found out they were soulmates. After that news, he just started liking her, which a lot of people say, and I'll get to that more later because the article we're also going to read, well, the Reddit post that feels like an article, we'll actually talk more into that. So, I just want to say that my friend here fails to point out, and so many other people who are biased against Mamo, they like to tend to forget that Usagi is also just as harsh. So, I don't exactly remember Mamo calling her ugly. I don't think it was harmful, even if he did say it, because I think if it was, like, actually the word ugly, I think I would have remembered that if it wasn't playfully. But I mean, I could be wrong. So, also, the part where he attacks her intelligence, by the way, this is the 90s anime, this doesn't really go off the original. I'll talk about that more in a second, about my opinion about it in a second. But, I assume she means when the paper was thrown at Mamo's head and that he said, and it was a 30%, which is pretty bad. But, I mean, it is Usagi's fault. She doesn't, yeah, she waits till it's too late and then she doesn't even study, so. Just want to make that clear. I love Usagi. She's one of my favorite characters, but we can't be biased with her either. Being biased with Mamo, but there has been times where Usagi has also made fun of Mamo's appearance, so we need to keep that in mind. But I think all this teasing and playfulness is obviously playful between both of them, and it's mutual. Just saying, all the good relationships start off as a teasing and playful relationship, in my opinion. So I just want to talk about this. So 90s animes and those kind of nostalgic animes are meant to have those type of parts in there to make it more entertaining for the audience, and also you can see a lot of teasing and stuff in those type of nostalgic animes. For example, Naruto. There's like silly scenes, especially at the beginning of things, like when Mamo got thrown a paper on his head, and all the teasing and stuff that happened in the beginning. A lot of animes, older animes, start off like that. So I think we should also keep that in mind. Okay? And I'm sure when writing these scenes, they weren't like, yeah, let's be little. I think it was just meant to be purely silly and playful. But being totally unbiased, I do understand that, like she said, most little children might not comprehend what that means. But at the same time, I can't really say that because being a child, that's the age you mostly tease people and get teased. Well, only started liking her and showing interest after the fact that he remembered his past life and she was his soulmate. So I hear a lot of people say that these little teasing things and playfulness is obviously signs of interest. She says it shows people it's okay to belittle your significant other. But once again, she fails to state that Usagi does the same thing. Which if you told her, she would probably realize that or even know it, but she just forgot to say it. Also, I want to say this is easy to understand, but I do realize that everyone is different growing up. At young ages, it's normal to tease your crushes or playfully make fun of them, uh, which is obvious because I feel like a lot of people did that. I know I did, like the age that people start watching Sailor Moon at a young age, like me. That's the time when they start developing feelings for classmates and stuff and having crushes, and typically they like to tease them, especially girls like to tease and be playful, but I don't think it meant any harm. And it was actually mostly there to entertain the audience, which is what we fail to realize, to make us have a laugh. See, as a kid, maybe you're like, why do they fight so much if they love each other? I guess that could probably ruin perspectives, but once again, that's not what it was meant there. It wasn't meant to be there for that reason. But at the same time, I feel like most children should realize what teasing is, because especially if you've grown up with siblings or, like I said, your crushes, stuff like that. Like, if you've grown up with siblings, you know what teasing is. You know what, you make fun of each other all the time, but that doesn't mean you hate each other. So if you make fun of siblings, I feel like you would get that even when you were younger, but maybe I'm wrong, and I'm not bashing anyone if you didn't understand that, and it's perfectly normal for you not to understand that. So being totally unbiased by my love for Mamo, some things you just don't understand as a kid growing up, and it can be confusing, and I do see my friend's point there. Overall, my reply to belittling your significant other, which is not just replying to my friend, because many people have said this. So, like I said, I believe everyone's different. Everyone understands and comprehends things differently. But when I first started watching Sailor Moon, which was like almost 9 years ago, wow. This summer I'll be 18. It's so scary. Okay, so anyways. So, honestly, growing up, I actually kind of found it adorable that they teased each other, but I guess some people didn't. Maybe I'm weird. I found it like relatable too, because that's what I did with my crushes, even throughout growing up in middle school, through like 4th grade through middle school. And I don't really have crushes now, but even a few years ago. So that was my reply to my friend, and kind of how other people do say those things a lot too. So that was that part. Now we're going to go to a Reddit post that I didn't read all of, but we're going to read most of it, and it is long. So we're not going to read all of it, most of it maybe, but not all of it, so it will be linked below. Also, if I don't know how to pronounce a word, I'm just not going to say it, so sorry, because she does, or he does sound pretty intelligent, too much for me, okay? So I don't know if they use big words or something. Okay, so I found it, and it wasn't called In Mamo's Defense. It's called To All the Mamoru slash Tuxedo Mascators. This was posted in r slash Sailor Moon. Rapunzel got a haircut. Okay. Okay, so let's start by reading this Reddit post that seemed very professional. So she or he, I'm not sure, first begins with, "Hi everyone, I wanted to share my comment on a video interview of the Viz dubbed voices for Sailor Moon and Sailor Moon Crystal anime. Stephanie Shea, Usagi, and Robbie Damian, Mamoru, which I love his voice actor. He was also Spider-Man and Reinhardt in ReZero, but anyways, the interviewer talked about why she believes it's justified to hate Tuxedo Mask. I get this is an anime, but it's not justified to hate anything or anyone. Okay, nothing should be justified to hate something. That just sounds so horrible. And why he isn't right for Usagi. I am basing my response below on the manga, the original 90s anime, and its 3 movies, and Sailor Moon Crystal, Pretty Guardian Sailor Moon interviews, articles that analyze the storylines, fact-checking references. And she or he also points out that you are entitled to your opinion, and so are they. However, they feel obligated to voice their opinions in defense for Mamo, as he gets so much hate in the fandom. And there's so much misinformation about him. I agree. First topic she or he talks about. In the original anime, Usagi and Mamo didn't have any feelings or love until they remembered their past lives. Okay, so that's actually something that my friend said about Mamo, though, not Usagi. I rewatched season 1 of the original anime this past week and took notes as each encounter between Usagi and Mamo up until they remembered their past lives. I analyzed their dialogue, how animators portrayed their body language around each other, as well as how they talked to one another. Let's begin our study by reading the quote from the manga in Act 10 when Usagi recounts that her encounters with Mamo. "I would get defensive and we would get into a fight. We actually never had a real conversation, but the truth is I always get so excited and happy when I see him. That's why we ran into each other, isn't it? Two of us were drawn to each other." And that was the manga. And I'm so sorry, they decided to turn up the TV for some reason. Mamo's first impression of Usagi was a girl who hit him on the head with a crumpled up test with a horrifying grade. Usagi's first impression of Mamo was a guy who told her she should study more. She was mortified and embarrassed by this, so she stuck out her tongue at him and walked away, discarding him as a weirdo. The first time they bump into each other, Usagi throws a shoe at his head. Or the second time, sorry. Third time they meet, they bump into each other when Usagi is dreaming about her future boyfriend. She mistakenly apologizes to a pole, and Mamo finds that funny and says she should watch where she is going. Naru asks Usagi if she knows who that guy is, and he is totally gorgeous, and Usagi responds with, "Wrong, there's nothing gorgeous about him." Wow, Usagi. By the 5th and 7th episode, when Mamo sees Usagi, he goes up to her and says, "Hey," like they were friends. At the end of their conversation in episode 7, when Usagi walks away annoyed, we pan back to Mamo, who is smiling genuinely at her. Through these interactions, Mamo and Usagi go from strangers annoyed by each other's existence to people who run into each other so often Mamo can find some humor in it. You have to consider Mamo is becoming Tuxedo Mask without his knowledge, is sleep deprived, has amnesia, and has barely anyone who is in his life who truly cares about him. He meets this girl who hit him on the head, bumped into him, and has been rude to him on multiple counts. Of course he's going to turn Usagi's comments. But as he spends more time around the group and teasing becomes well-meaning, Usagi shows that she values his advice, such as episode 17, when she is deciding to tell Naru if Nephrite's evil doings is a good idea or not. Usagi is visibly jealous of Ray's crush on Mamo and her 3 outings with him. Mamo brought up Bunhead when Ray stopped him on the street to ask him out. He mentioned Usagi when talking to Motoki, when the conversation wasn't even about her, but rather about Makoto. She's on his mind from early on, which is something good to point. He is. There's a fantastic post that discusses some of these points of evidence that Usagi and Mamo has a crush on each other before they can remember the press lights. Then she or he decides to tag an article that we will not be reading. One of my favorite observations is, and I quote, Mamo mostly teased her about her love life. When we look at what a person mostly teases someone about, give us an idea of their true intentions behind it. Mamo teased her about romance-related things quite a few times, saying she wouldn't get a boyfriend if she weren't more ladylike. Because the whole time, you wanted her. Just teasing her about Motoki twice and her not-so-date with Yumino. It wasn't really, though. Not to mention when Motoki asked Mamo why he always treated Usagi like that, Mamo says, I guess we weren't meant for each other, which broke my heart millions of times. Also in this reply to u/Rockabor was fantastic analysis regarding the deeper meaning behind Mamo's and Usagi's teasing in the beginning. And I quote, I love you to the point of all the nuisance in the way Mamo and Usagi's relationship grew from roasting each other to realizing they care about each other and actually love being around each other. When they met, neither were emotionally mature enough at the point out of excuse to spend time together, and they kept teasing each other as a reliable way of doing so. I talked to another writer about the scene that strikes me as very multi-layered in regard in episode 17, since when Mamo talked about qualities, what makes a girl beautiful, after Usagi feels discouraged to meet the photographer. He describes someone with a kind heart and bravery to do the right thing, even when it's hard to do. He says it in directness like he means it as, I see these qualities in you. Yet, he plays it off by saying, obviously, you lack those qualities. Oof, in a challenging way. I read it as him giving her the determination to try to prove him wrong, because he knows she's not a quitter. Usagi went to the arcade to get Motoki to boost her ego, which she knew he would because he's always supportive. Motoki made her happy but didn't inspire her, whereas Mamo challenging her was what pushed her to actually go out and prove it. When she leaves Motoki a note how the two always bicker, Mamo seems to half-heartedly limit that things always turn into an argument when they see each other, and that I guess we're not meant to be. It seems like he's admitting that he doesn't know how to give her a compliment without feeling silly or embarrassed to act like a softie, which is a men thing to do, to be honest. And he doesn't know, not all men do it, I'm not saying that, but it's very, in episode 28, they already discriminate, you know what word I'm trying to use, to the viewer that they have crushes on each other. Usagi sitting by him thinks to herself, but hey, he does look pretty handsome. Then out loud she goes, oh geez, what am I thinking? Stop it, Usagi. Tuxedo is my only love. Is the only one I love. He looks at her, and then when she looks away embarrassed, he smiles at her. At the end of the episode, when Usagi says their painting came out beautiful, Mamo says, it looks pretty good considering who the model was. And his eyes immediately shot to Usagi, but she thinks he's talking about himself, so she reacts annoyed. In the last episode of the first season, when everyone's memory was erased again, Mamo smiles genuinely after meeting her. Usagi. This encounter was just like the first one they had at the beginning of the series and similar to the third encounter as well. His reaction could very well have been the reaction he had meeting her for the first time, but we, the viewers, didn't get to see it. They had an attraction to each other from the start. Usagi felt that she made 2 horrible first impressions on Mamo, and even though she obviously found him attractive, as later she states that on countless occasions, she felt that this is an attractive guy I would have had a crush on, and now he thinks I'm a ditz, so I'm going to treat him like I don't care about him, which is normal for humans to do for some reason. Mamo is someone who came from an upbringing with little attachment and has pursued been pursued for his looks and wealth for a long time. Think about how many characters and villains have hit on him. How Motoki and Rei told Rei that he lives in an expensive apartment all alone because of his inheritance. Her eyes lit up. Rei, we see you, girl. Usagi probably is the only one who isn't falling over him. His way of showing his attraction is not the best, but Usagi's isn't perfect either. I also noticed how when he bumped into Rei, when Rei bumped into Mamo to ask him out, he acted concerned for her falling for a moment, asked if she was alright, and went on his way. Rei stopped him again he reluctantly stuck around for coffee. Meanwhile, every time Usagi bumps into him, he sticks around for a bit to tease her and get teased back. Why did Mamo go out of his way to spend time on the annoying buttonhead than he needed to? I think the most notable difference between Usagi and Mamo's relationship in Season 1 and Season 2 is that Usagi is much nicer to him in Season 2. As a result, Mamo is getting much friendlier to her as well. So, let's go to a different point. Mamo and Usagi's breakup. Mamo breaks up with Usagi. I cried. Who didn't? In the anime, when they're finally together during Sailor Moon R, he finally feels like then he gets these visions prophesizing that the woman he loves, Usagi, will die if he continues to be with her. He struggles with what to do. He just found someone who completes him, who gave him his lost memory and the meaning of his life back, who saw the best in him and believed in him even when he was brainwashed. He knows the pain that he caused her for being brainwashed and stolen and everything, kidnapped. Like, he realizes how possessed he was, enough to attempt to behead Usagi without question. He just learned that continuing to be part of her life would only put her in grave danger. He doesn't take this lightly and breaks up with her because he thought he would protect her. Mamo thought he himself was the danger to Usagi, and that's why he tried to get her to hate him, which was obvious. Even if you don't like Mamo, you can see that. Even I intentionally judged the breakup arc as a victim of bad writing for Usagi and Mamo's relationship. I don't think so, because, well, I did get sad and everything, but I think it really made them grow and see the true meaning of each other's love. I'm so sorry for the lighting. A few lines littered over the few episodes and are unfortunately very negative coming from Mamo's part. I agree. Just being totally unbiased, he was pretty harsh, but he thought he had to be for some reason. I cannot defend when taken out of context. I am disappointed that the writers decided to include these few lines since they don't even correlate to Mamo's character growth. And furthermore, these comments are attempts to portray himself as a despicable person to Usagi, so she would forget about him and move on, which he thought would be easier for her if she hated him. Like, ew, he's a horrible person. Yeah, never mind, bye. He thought that by getting Usagi to hate him, she would distract herself from him and be saved from the horrible fate he kept seeing in his nightmare. Many people use this as evidence, which is not good to use as evidence, that Mamo didn't love Usagi, which is true. I always hear that, and that he's a horrible person. It is very easy to judge a guy breaking up with a girl as wonderful as Usagi and being so cold towards her. However, when you see Mamo realize that marrying Usagi will cause her immediate death and that his only way of protecting her is to break up with her, he already hates himself. To provide more perspectives of how this impacted him when he met King Endymion, his future self, in the future, he realizes he was the one prophesizing Usagi's death if Mamo continues to be with her. Mamo charges at him with anger. There's no logical reason why Mamo would willingly choose to make Usagi suffer, which is true. Even if you don't like Mamo, you know that. Why would he purposely put the person he considers his family and his soulmate through so much pain and suffering? The breakup is as hard on him as it is Usagi. This is clearly seen in episode 69. At the end, when he is crying by his motorcycle, he should have told Yusako the truth about the dream, which is true. But she beats him to it later in the episode. They decide to take control of their lives and be together instead of believing in the nightmare. She was the one who believed in their strength and love and do the right thing. Thanks to this arc, they learned together they are unstoppable. Mamo learned to trust Usagi wholeheartedly and trust himself. He is alone, so he has trust issues, as is obvious. It's a human feeling, okay? to trust himself as he felt he was the danger in her life. But he isn't, and he trusts himself now. After the revelation, the message from King and Damien were to test Mamo and Usagi's love. Even when Mamo realizes he made a horrible decision to lie to Usagi and hurt her the way he did. He realizes how dumb he was and latches on to Usagi and never lets her go. Furthermore, to provide a silver lining for the breakup arc, we have further evidence of just how Mamo loves Usagi. If he didn't love her, there'd be so many people in the fandom claim, the breakup was his way out. But he didn't just up and leave. He hated that he had to be apart from Usagi. He truly loves her with all his heart. He never once stopped calling her Usako. Pretty sure he did to make her mad though, but that's beside the point. He never stopped being in awe of Sailor Moon's power, calling her invincible when talking about her to Chibiusa. He continued to help her in Sailor Senshi in battle. He dreamt about marrying her. He imagined her face in reflective rivers. When he continued to run into her after the breakup, he was solemn, realizing that his fate that keeps making him meet. This breakup isn't my favorite part of the season, but it provides real character development and allows us to explore Mamo's fears and heartache, which is true, and it was good to add it because it was a good way into the character development, which I see a lot of people love in animes, but for some reason despise this. You see Usagi gets heartbroken, but she doesn't lose faith. She doesn't stop believing in Mamo and love, which is really strong of her. I respect that. She still has a circle of friends and family to back on. Mamo had no one. Usagi was the one he had let in his heart. In Sailor Moon R movie, he tells Usagi of his years of loneliness was worth it because he found her, and that she is his family. For years, Mamo had the same dream about a princess who pleaded to him, find the silver crystal, and this princess ended up being a real person. The girl with the weird hair who he kept running into, Bunhead, Usako. Realizing how insane that is, to literally have no memory before your 6th birthday, to not remember your parents, to be an orphan with no family or no close relationships, and have a recurring dream that wakes you up in a cold sweat about the same person who pleads that you find the mysterious crystal you know nothing about. It's insane. Of course Mamo has trouble interpersonal relationships at the beginning. It's thanks to Usagi's constant love towards him that keeps their growth as a couple, and he tries to become kinder, more trusting person as the series goes on. Mamo's connection to Usagi is so much deeper than the anime lets on the surface, which I agree. Mamo went from someone who had memories stolen already 3 times to someone who finally found the love of his life, who was no longer alone, to someone who forced to break his soulmate's heart and pushed back to loneliness. And then they actually put an article all about Mamo's perspective on that. Mamo's relationship with Chibiusa, which is another thing. I don't know if we should talk about this because that could be a whole nother video.
But I guess I'll read it. On the note, of course Mamo felt connection to Chibiusa. He was an orphan with no family. He finds this little kid alone. Of course he's going to feel the urge to help her and feel less alone. He connects with Chibiusa because he sees Usako in her. And it's her daughter. And his daughter. And hers. Because he no longer has anyone else to fill the void of loneliness, Mamo and Chibiusa are some characters that carry the underlying theme of loneliness in the Sailor Moon story. Chibiusa saw Mamo as someone who reminded her of her dad. Because it is, but she doesn't know that. And for a little girl who seems helpless and separated from her parents, utterly alone in a strange world where she doesn't know who to trust, it is reasonable for her to latch onto him. She sees these people who look like her parents and Sailor since she's back home and behave nothing like them because they're just starting to grow up. Mamo is the few characters who are constantly nice to her, and therefore, logically, she would want to be around him. There's an article that talks about Electrocomplex. Chibiusa becomes Black Lady. Her innocent feelings of love and attachment towards Mamo get exploited and tainted and manifest to sexual attraction. But in reality, once Chibiusa can relate to Usagi, her Electrocomplex is resolved and Black Lady is defeated. Okay, so
with everything, but I think the part of her not being able to relate to Usagi makes sense, but I feel like it was mostly because she was the evil version of herself. She was the opposite version of herself. So, of course, it's going to be weird to how she actually feels. And I feel like most people get that, so I don't have to explain it. Even people who it's called Tuxedo Mask is useless. Okay, when you read this, what a double standard. I agree. Just because he's a man, he has to be the Batman or Spider-Man of the story. It's called Sailor Moon. She is the Wonder Woman. He is Steve Trevor. So true. That is a good example. I love that. Tuxedo Mask exists to help Sailor Moon and support her, but the Sailor Moon is the protector of the universe. The story is about her and fellow Senshi. It's a female empowerment story. If you think a male character is useless because he isn't the one saving the day, you're missing the point. Tuxedo Mask has physically aided the Senshi in combat and on countless occasions. Yeah, I think that's very weird because you realize at this point, the Sailor Moon fan base makes you realize how hypocritical things can be. Strong enough, but if he was stronger, then they would hate on that because it's supposed to be a girl empowerment story. So you really see how people contradict themselves with this guy. Furthermore, during numerous battles, if Tuxedo Mask had not shown up to shoot a single rose, Sailor Moon Senshi would have been gone. He utilizes his knowledge of physics and math during battle and is capable of hand-in-hand combat, as well as formidable swordsman. In the manga and Sailor Moon Crystal, he has his own superpower attack, which is true. Tuxedo La Smoking Bomber. Even cooler, he has combined attack with his daughter Pink Sugar Tuxedo Attack. He takes the place of Sailor Earth. So there's actually a lot in... I'm going to go through that later, but you can too, and I'll link it down below, so don't worry. Usagi and Mamo's age gap. One of the biggest misinformations in Sailor Moon is that Mamo and Usagi's age difference is legally of their relationship. Is the legality of their relationship. Mamo Chiba is 17 at the start of the manga, intended to be as young as 16. Usagi Sakino starts the story at 14, but she actually isn't 14 for a very long time. The Japan school semester begins in April and her birthday is June. This means the season 1 through 3 happen pretty quickly. Therefore, the age difference between Mamo and Usagi isn't drastic at all. Furthermore, the fact that matter is Mamo behaves older than he is. Why? He has matured very early on in age from being lonely and stuff. He has had to care for himself for a very long time. Usagi has the perfect family at the beginning of the series and is rather immature as it goes on because of her responsibilities as the guardian and protector of the galaxy. At face value, it's easy to judge Mamo and Usagi's relationship and one significant age gap. However, in this case, 2 to 3 years age difference is not outstanding at all, and in Japan even less so. They are both above the age of consent of 13 and still both teenagers. Even in the original anime, many scripts list Mamo as 17, 18-year-old college student, and Usagi becomes 15 early on in the series timeline. He is shown to be extremely intelligent, so being 17-year-old in college is absolutely plausible. An important point to address is that he's shown driving a car when the minimum age in Japan is 18. However, Haruka is 16 and drives a car, even a helicopter. I'm not losing any sleep over the fact that Mamo could be driving a car before he is 18. People argue that Mamo were precisely the same age as Usagi. The problems would be fixed, but as I stated earlier, Mamo behaves more mature because he was forced to be independent. Even at 14, Mamo would appear to behave so much more mature than Usagi does. He's still obviously immature. How he deals with his crush on Usagi, because he's not used to that, takes a little more to read like this. And then it's over. That person is very smart, and I like that they took their time with that. Overall, in this video, we went through what I posted about. We basically read my friend's comment, then we read that beautiful Reddit post. No matter what you agree with, whether it's different from my opinion, different from anyone else's opinion, I think at the end of the day, it's an anime female empowerment for some, love, soulmates, and friendship. If you have opinion, let me know, whether it's different or not, but please be respectful to anyone else's opinion. My Instagram will also be linked down below where you can see that post, and so will the Reddit post. Yeah, let me know if this changed your mind on Mamo-chan, and if it did, that's great. I'm really happy. So if you're a Mamo shipper, let me know. Send me a rose emoji or a real one. So that's it. Bye, my fellow Moonies, and remember to keep fighting evil by moonlight. Thank you. Bye.